Alright, let's get this going. We're going to take our, I'm going to start with the left side. I'll adjust my camera, focus on these two. What we're going to do is I'm just going to take one, I'm going to put my air line in. Okay, I'm going to hold it. I'm going to take my fuel line, pop that in. Okay, you'll feel it snap into place, you'll feel it. A lot of times I'll put oil on these just so that they'll slide in easier, but these are still oily from the last time I did it, so they're sliding in pretty good. Alright. Now what we do is when we match these together, you just want to match the hole to hole, and you'll see it go into place for your airlines here, and you want to make sure that this goes in the center of that C. You can see that right here. So it goes in the center. And we're just going to smash them together. And all I'm looking for is a good seat. Fuel line goes in, the airline's not in a bind, and the C part goes right in there. Okay? Now what I do is, since these two are matched together, I go ahead and put the clamp back on. The bracket back on. Now I'm going to show you this bracket. If you see here, he's got these little half moons at the bottom of this thing. Make sure this is at the bottom facing down, and we're just going to turn it to where it's right here. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and put one screw in. Get the right screwdriver. Because these are already match set. I'm going to put one in here. Now don't tighten it down. You just want to do 3 or 4 threads. And I'm going to do one in this spot. You can see, you can just kind of twist it and turn it to where you need it. You can see where it's starting to match up. Okay. So just do one screw at a time. Don't put it tight because we have to make sure everything else matches up. So you just kind of leave it out a little bit, just where it's just where it's loose a little. Okay? Now, here's what I do. Now that these are matched up, you're going to take your fuel line. Now I'm going to put some oil on this one. It's dry. Just going to put a little oil on here. A little there. Okay. We're going to put that fuel line in right here. Actually, that is going to curve to the left. If it has a curve in that line, curve it to the left, because that's the way the fuel is going. Okay? Now I'll take one. We're going to match it, because all I have to do is hook up the fuel line to this one. Okay? We're just going to snug it in. Okay? I'm going to put a screw in. Just one. No tight, just put it in there. It's still loose. I'm going to make sure this is seated. Make sure everything else is seated in good. I'm going to kind of flip it here. I'm going to make sure this carburetor is within that C-clamp as well. You can see right here it sits right in the middle. Okay? You want this valve sitting right in the middle of that C. So it's good. I'll flip it back. We're going to take our next air valve. Now I'm going to oil that one. It's a little dry from last time. Just going to put a little oil on it. Okay. I'll set this here. At the same time, that will bow out a little bit because this is brand new hose. Okay. The fuel line, if it has a natural curve, curve it to the left because that's going to be toward the tank. On the airlines, if it has a natural curve going this way, angle this to the right because that's where the drain tubes holders are. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing. Put the fuel line in here. Actually, this way. Okay. We're going to mate these two together. Yeah, just work at it. You'll see it, it'll slide in place, and you can even actually feel it snap. Same thing here, we're going to put one screw in. Okay, now we can start putting screws in everything else. Kind of get some room here. Ah, camera issues. Alright, now let's go ahead and start putting all the screws in. Once all the screws are in, we're going to tighten them down. It actually started raining outside. It was like 70 degrees today. It was hot out. Now it's raining. Welcome to Texas. Okay, we got a good fit. And all I'm doing is looking for the seating. Make sure your fuel tubes are seated good. You can see it kind of move around a little. That's fine. Okay, everything's seated good. Looks good. Let's tighten everything down. You want these really good and tight. Okay. Now, right here on the front, we're going to put our springs in. So we're going to have our 3 springs. Let's see if we can get a good camera view there. 3 springs, 3 spots. Now if you look right here, on this spring, right here there'll be a lip, bottom of that lip. We're just going to put the spring in at the bottom first, and then the top, so it'll snap in like that. I'll try to hold the camera and do the second one. Right here, we're just going to put it in at the bottom first, and then the top. Just push it in, and it should just slide right in. Right there. Should be able just to do it by hand. So that snaps in. Okay. Same thing, we're just going to test it. So we're just going to open and close this. Everything looks good, sounds good. Alright. Now we're going to flip it over on the top. We're going to put our next bracket on. Now this goes with this handle bracket facing down. That's our throttle adjuster. So that's going to fit on here just like this. Show on the camera. So if this is facing toward you, just flip it just like that. We're going to lock these down. I do the same thing. I'll do one at a time. Make sure the bracket's on good. But I'll just make sure all the screws are in. I'll do one on each carburetor. Once I get the alignment, then you can start locking everything down. Okay, everything looks good and aligned. So now we can start putting the others in. Now, I don't snug them. I just set them tight. Just hand tight for right now. We'll lock them down in a minute. Main thing is making sure the alignment's good. And once everything holes are lined up, then we can lock them down tight. Drop my light. It's a redneck engineering light there. There's a misalignment right there. So what I'll do is just put a little pressure right there so it'll screw in. Okay. Got everything lined up. Okay, now we can lock them down. Everything fits. So now we're going to lock them down tight. All right, that is 100% carburetor rebuild. And everything looks great. Everything fits great, looks great. You can put this on a machine. Now the one thing I will do, and I'll show you here, but you can do it on your own. I have a specialized jig that I put this in, and it keeps this carburetor level. And what it is, when I put this in my leveler, I'm going to put gas on this thing. I got a dummy tank. We're going to fill this up with gas. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to check all these float heights with this gauge. And you're going to put this gauge in. Of course, I'm going to tilt it forward so you can see it. But normally it's going to be sitting on my jig. And so I can level it. Because you want these level. Like on the side, you can just, I have a level that I'll put here. And it has to be level. And once it's level, you're just going to open up this screw hole right here. You open up this screw hole, the fuel is going to fill up this gauge, and depending on where that gas fits in this gauge is going to tell me how far I need to adjust my float. And this is something you can do on your own. It's pretty simple. And like I say, now that 3 millimeters is from the side, and I'm going to show you real quick. 3 millimeters, when you measure this down, in my camera, 3 millimeters from the side here puts this line right about just a little bit off this screw line right here. I don't know if my pen can mark that line, but I don't know if you can see that pen line or not. Let's take a look. That right here is about 3 millimeters, right where that pen line is. Okay, it's measured from the top of the carburetor down the bowl. That's 3 millimeters, and it is 3 plus or minus 1. So, but if you can, try to hit that 3 millimeter first, and try to get that 3 millimeter. You want to be spot on. But it does give you a plus or minus 1. So it could be 2, could be 4. But just try to keep it in that 3. And then what we're going to do is once I put this in my leveler, get it all leveled out, we're going to fill it up with gas. You fill up this tube with gas, make sure all the bowls fill up. And we're just going to take this screw and we're going to open up this gate. And this fuel is going to come up this tube and it's going to tell me how tall that gas is in this bowl. And what I'm looking for is that number 3 spot right here. And you can see I put a little mark right here. That's where I want the fuel line up to, is this spot right here. That gives me my 3 millimeter just above right here. I put little scratches here. You can't see it in the camera, but there's a scratch line right there. And I put a little mark right here where you can see it. Shine a little bit brighter maybe. If you see, there's a little, I put a little ink spot right here, and also put an ink line right there, so it's easy to see. All right, so you'll fill this up with gas, open up that gate. This tube will fill up with fuel, and it'll tell you how tall, and it'll tell you how to adjust that float. Now, like I say, we set those at 17 and a half. 17 and a half, maybe low, maybe high. It's just a general setting. It's not always going to be perfect, so that's where your fine tuning is going to have to come in, and that's something you're just going to have to do on your own to play with it. If you know, on that tang, it's real sensitive, so you have to be real careful. If you adjust it too high or too low, you just have to keep playing with it till you get it right. But if you can, just try to keep it right there at that 3. Now, if it's at the bottom of that bowl right here, that's fine, because that's actually 4 millimeters. So, and the book will give us 4 millimeters to a 2. So it's actually, but try to stay on that 3. That 3 is your target. All right. Alrighty, now that we got everything back together, and you've checked all your fuel lines and everything's great, everything's set, we'll pull this out. I'm going to assume that you've already done the carburetor leveling, and make sure your levels are good. Now the last thing I'm going to do is put on the choke tube. Okay, we're going to take this off in the same order as we put it on. You just undo those screws, set them in that order, the same way. Okay, that'll come off just like that. Now what we're going to do, since this is the first one to come off, it'll be the last one to come off, it'll be the first one to come on. So let me get my set here. Okay, this first one's going to go on first, and actually this one will have a little beveled in on the end, and this side will be flat. So just like a spear, we want to put the spear in first with this one. So we're going to put this on first, and actually if there was a tab on this one, you'd put this on the tab first, lock it in, but since that tab's broke, it's kind of irrelevant, but I'm just going to show you. You'll put these on first, okay? There'll be a tab there, lock it in the tab, slide it in. Take your next one, and you'll see it's a little slot right here. You'll put that in. Okay, go to your next one. Little slot, put it on your tab. Okay, keep going. All right. Now what I do is I take one of these screws out to get my alignment, and you can see the little spot right there where it has the little indention. We're just going to slide that till you see the hole come through that right there. Okay, we're just going to lock this down. Same thing here, just hand tight, you know, just not too tight, because you don't want to strip these. Okay. This last one here, you can see it. Now this tab's broken off, but that's okay, it's still the same. Okay, so just make them tight, not too tight. Now I'm going to show you something real critical. Okay, now this is how we're going to adjust it. This is your choke tube. Now I want you to see, let me see if I can get the camera right. There's just a little bit of slack in here. Now what I want you to do is when this is all the way to the left, or sorry, your right, all these tabs, you can see the slack in here. I want that slack to be taken out. So when I push push this to the right. I'll show you. I want that tab against the bottom of this choke tube. All right. So what happens is I notice a lot of bikes, these alignments will be off, and you'll actually be running with an open choke. And so I've seen that all the time when I take these apart. So when this lever is pushed all the way to the right, the tabs should be bottoming out on those tubes, every one of these. If not, what happens is if one of these tabs is pushed forward, you'll be going down the highway with an open tube, and it's not good. It causes your engine to flood out. So what we do is we take the slack out, and you push all these to the right, and you can just see how far you need to move that tab. And you can see I've already done these that way, and you can just feel it. You can just slide this back and forth, and you can even hear it. So in other words, when you push this to the left for your choke to open, they're all going to open at the same time. So when you push this to the left, I want the back side of that tab, the back side of these tabs hitting this part. So they'll all open at the same time. And these are opening all at the same time. And the only way you can check it is just sit here and wiggle it and see which way it's moving. And you can just bend these. They're pretty simple. It's real thin metal. And that's the last check you do. Alrighty. Any questions, give me a call. Alright, bye.